The first thing we're going to do now is go over the guided notes for Chapter 2 of Engaging Questions. If you have your book of Engaging Questions, that's great. Turn to Chapter 2. What I'm going to be using are the files that I uploaded to Blackboard. So that means that the PDFs I have are this first page that I took pictures of the first page, which is going to be helpful for the second part of the assignment. And then the other part is going to be these selected pages. So we've got like page 16, page 16, 20, through 21, 22, and some other pages in there that are going to help you answer these parts of the assignment. So what we're going to do is the first part is we're going to just make sure that we understand some of the ideas. So what that means is I'm looking at part 1, and we're going to do the steps for previewing the text. So that means we've got to go look at the preview or the pages that I've taken from this textbook and see if we can find those parts. And those are actually included on page 16. So the first page didn't get, or the page before this didn't get copied over, but what it shows you are these questions. So what you've got are these questions. So how many questions is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6 questions. And what you're going to do, we've got these 6 spaces right here. The fourth one, or the fifth one, is done for you. So the fifth one says find special features the text contains that might aid comprehension, such as images, charts, etc. So let's look at what the fifth item is. So what special features does the text contain that may aid comprehension? So we've got this as a question, and we've got it as a command here, so, or these steps that we can use. So let's go through each step and find a way to put it into kind of a command, kind of a question, so that we don't have that question and we're using kind of our brain to think about this a little bit more. So that doesn't mean just read the question and stop. That means maybe read the description, see what it says. So I'm going to do the first one where the question says, what is the text about? And the explanation after that is, from the title, what can you infer about the topic and the author's angle or point of view on the topic? Skim the subheadings if the text has them. If not, look at the opening paragraph. Skim the introduction and the conclusion. Based on your preview, try to predict what questions this text will answer. Make a list of questions about the topic that you expect to find answered in the reading. Looking for answers to these questions will make your reading more purposeful. So we've got this suggestion of coming up with questions. I think that's something that we want to include. So looking at the title and determining the topic, the angle, and so these are going to be kind of some of the things we want to look at. So let's rephrase, let's think of the command that the step that we would come up with here. So read the title, read the title and try to figure out the topic or the topic and the reader's and the author's, not the reader, but the author's opinion. Then read the subtitle or read the subtitle or the introduction paragraph and come up with your questions about the text. So something like that is a really good way to kind of summarize what they said and remember this step for when you're going to be writing your own, for when you're doing your own reading process. So let's look at the second step. The second step is going to be, what do I already know about the topic? What opinions do I have about it? So that's the questions that they give, and we're going to go ahead and read the rest of the text so we can get some richer ideas. Before reading, take a moment to recall what you may already know about the topic of the text. Refreshing your memory about relevant facts and issues readies you for thinking about what the text will offer. Reflect as well on your own bias, if you have one, and what the origin of this bias might be. So what's nice about these steps is they explain a little bit of the rationale that we don't need to include. I think that's important, and I think you should make your own notes, but you don't need to include that right now. Right now, we're just looking for the steps, and we're going through the process of converting it from a question into a command, is giving you a little bit of mental gymnastics. You're pulling in a little bit more than just these questions to think about it. So right now, you've identified you've identified the topic. So think about that. So consider or try to identify your own opinion about the topic. So that's what you're trying to do. So you're trying to identify your own opinion about the topic and what you know about the topic. So again, you've come up with the question, you've come up with the topic with the first step. So identify your own opinion about the topic and what you know about the topic. And I didn't do this for the last one, but what I recommend is that you've written that down and think about like this sentence. So try to identify your own opinion about the topic and what you know about the topic. Maybe think about if there's a news story or something you know. So we've got this definition, but let's go back and read one more time what this second thing says, and then think about if we correctly summed it up, or if we need to go back and revise what our answer was. So what do I already know about the topic? What opinions do I have about it? Before reading, take a moment to recall what you may already know about the topic of the text. Refreshing your memory about relevant facts and issues readies you for thinking about what the text will offer. Reflecting as well on your own bias, if you have one, and the origins of what that bias might be. So I think maybe one thing we want to include is, identify your own opinion about the topic, maybe, and why you have that opinion, and what you know about the topic. So we switched the order of these, but I think that's even kind of nice because, it's the same information as what was said in the textbook, but it's said a little bit differently. It gives you the same experience. So we've done 3 of these 6, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the next part, because what I want to do is I want to show you where I'm finding the rest of these answers. So we're going to go ahead and skip to question part 2. So these are questions to think about when annotating. And this part should be pretty easy because all you have to do is copy the questions. So let's go ahead and we're looking for a heading that says questions to think about when annotating. So let's skim through the pages. So we're going through page 20, and then some questions for annotations. Oh my gosh. So that sounds exactly like what we want. So let's think about how many questions we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's see, we have 5 spaces. So these are going to be the questions that you write down, and you can just write down the answer, but what I encourage you to do is maybe make some notes. Think about how these apply, and maybe even look at the packet that I gave you for Ruskin and Shore and think about, wait, how does this connect to that? So I'm just going to write down the first couple. So what the question here is, what words do I not know? So I'm just going there, and for number 1, I'm just typing, what words do I not know? So there we go. We're done with that. And then let's look, question 2. What are the main points as opposed to subordinate passages? So let's see what are the main points as opposed to subordinate passages. So there's our second question. So you can just go ahead and fill the rest out. And then we've got part 3. what to do is you reread the text. So, and again, this is one where copying the answers is okay. As much as possible, try and read it, really understand it, and make some notes, because this is going to be something we keep referring back to throughout the semester, because we're going to be reading articles throughout the semester. So let's look, again, what's our heading that we're looking for? What to do is you reread the text. So we're looking for something that's going to tell us about how to reread the text. So we've got comparing annotations. That doesn't really seem like it. Oh, rereading the text. That is exactly what we're looking for. So now we've got this heading. We're looking for something that's going to be a group under it. So we've got these recognizing shifts in point of view and voice. Maybe that's it. Identifying voice. Okay, that might be kind of the same sort of level. Let's see. Analyzing figurative language, paraphrasing difficult passages. These all kind of seem to be within that category. So finding the writer's moves in a text, summarizing the text. So let's see, responding to a reading. And then that puts us on page 29, kind of the end of the scanned pages. And so let's see how many options. So we've got 6. Let's go through and see if we can count 6 things that kind of come up. So right now I'm giving you this hint that's going to sort of help you in a way that's not necessarily academic, but I think I want to show you that, try and get in your teacher's head and think about what they're trying to get from you. And if they're trying to get 6 answers from you, where do you get 6 different things? So that's one way that if you're using that and then you're actually to help you find the answer and then you're actually learning from the material, that's okay. So we've got this thing. So recognizing shifts in point of view and voice, that's 1. 2, identifying voice. 3, analyzing figurative language. We've got 4, paraphrasing difficult passages. 5, finding the writer's move in a text. And then 6, summarizing the text. And that's it. So, we've got this responding to a reading. So let's go back and look at this. So we've got these 6, and I'm going to see one thing that kind of comes up is we want to see as we're doing this. So recognizing shifts in point of view. So it's identifying voice, that's actually an activity. So we can say like, okay, that's not one. What that's doing is that's giving us practice with what we just talked about. So that's not this identifying voice heading is just an activity that is helping you practice this. So we'll skip that one so that we've got our 6 points. So recognizing shifts in point of view and voice. So let's just go ahead and copy that down. Recognizing shifts, point of view and voice. All right, that's number 2. And then, what's number 2? So yeah, remember we can skip the identifying voice because that's an activity, and we're going to be analyzing figurative language. And the next is going to be 3 is paraphrasing difficult passages. Oops, I accidentally deleted one of the entries. Paraphrasing, what was that? Difficult passages. Paraphrasing difficult passages. All right, and then number 4 is going to be finding the writer's moves in a text. Writer's moves in a... And then next one is summarizing the text. And then we've got our last one, which is responding to a reading. So yes, at this point, we've technically finished this portion of the assignment, but what I encourage you to do is take this like a step further and make some notes so that way, if I ask you to respond to a reading, you'll feel comfortable doing that. You know what to do. You might have to glance back at your book a little bit, but you don't have to like spend a bunch of time thinking about how to do that process. I recommend making some notes. All right. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is the next part. So I'm actually going to go ahead and end this video here. so that way I can start a brand new video with how to do the analysis and application of concepts from engaging questions.